we're going to bring you off here and go right into our next session. Now, a payment processor, sometimes you could consider profit optimization, risk mitigation, but in a lot of ways it's conversion rate optimization. We're going to make more money by offering payment in a different format or in a way that works better for our users. And now we're going to transition into talking about something that I'm super passionate about, which is why I brought these guys on. As soon as I saw their tagline on their homepage, I said, this is exactly what I've been looking for. So Sam from Bloom is going to show us their product and how to test product images. I'm super excited about this.
Great. Thank you so much, Derek. Am I live here?
You are live. Come on in. The water's fine. And I will add your presentation to the screen as well. Sam, I'm just going to let you explain the product, what you do, and how much money optimizing your product images can actually make merchants. Because I got to be honest with you, your technology is something I absolutely love, but I think merchants are kind of clueless when it comes to the fact that there's money hiding in this sort of optimization process here for their product detail page specifically. But I bet you do even more than that. All right, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Derek. Yeah, I'll try to keep this short and sweet, guys. Thank you so much for having me. Want to start off by saying, obviously, we all know products are important. They're like this. Obviously, they can be a lot of fun, and there's all kinds of upticks for user-generated content and all this new stuff coming out that makes it really great for people to interact with your brands. And at the end of the day, they're expensive. Shooting these photo shoots, whether you're in any segment of e-com, I think we've all been there at some stage. It's time consuming and it's expensive. And we see these as like fixed cost, necessary actions to take as a brand. But we don't look at them the same way as we look at other things in e-com, like ads. When it comes to ads, you have these like North Star metrics on CPC, CPM, ROAS. So you ask any e-com brand and they know exactly all of the answers to those figures. But when you look at a website, like any e-com business, pixel for pixel, 70%, 75% of your site is made up of these product photos. And at a very deep heuristic as a consumer, it's the first thing that chooses when I'm scrolling Instagram or I'm on a website. The first thing I see, the first thing I interact with is a photo. So that's kind of why we built Bloom. Is like why is the creative direction disconnected from the performance? And I think in this day and age, it should be a lot more of a kind of symbiotic thing where you understand and you're incentivized to play around with your product photos and figure out what works and what doesn't. And that's why we built Bloom. So I'm going to kick it off just by showing you, for an example, whether you're in fashion, jewelry, accessories, or anything under the sun, as long as you have 2 or 3 product photos for each one of your SKUs. And if you're looking to invest in this, this could be a great time to join Bloom to join us for free and make data-backed decisions on your creative direction to scale up your company. So I'm going to dive right into how it works. So as you know, let's say take this watch brand, for example. We always ask ourselves and talk anecdotally about which shooting style performs best. So whether that's flat lays, on figure, recognizable, non-recognizable, user-generated content, the list goes on. And we're constantly trying to ask, of course, I'd want to invest in more shooting styles or a higher production value if I knew how it would perform. So basically what Bloom does, our first product that's live on Shopify right now, is it takes that collection photo, so that thumbnail image at the collection level, and it runs all of these micro experiments to all of your traffic to figure out, if I show this flat lay or this lifestyle image or this pose, what's going to convert in the most amount of click-through rate through to the product detail page, and then order rate on the conversion level. So our algorithm, when you plug it in and turn it on in like 2 seconds, it immediately starts running these experiments and figures out what is the best photo to show, automatically makes the swap, and then immediately starts lifting your conversion. So it's not bringing more people to your site, but it's making it so more people leave. If they're going to leave, they'll leave with the purchase versus just bouncing. So some of the other cool things that come to mind are, with all of these things coming up with cookie data and GDPR requirements, our system doesn't require any of that. It doesn't track the user. It basically just looks at the out-of-box information. So like the IP address and the user agent, which tells us what's the device they're using, how old is it, and where are they located. And we can start to figure out, do people on desktop prefer seeing a certain shooting style versus people on mobile? If I'm scrolling the streets of Manhattan and I want to purchase something, am I going to interact with content differently? Or where did this user come from? If I was just shopping on Instagram or scrolling around on Instagram and I swipe up on a campaign, what's the kind of product photos I'm going to want to see when I land on that website? So these are some of the things that we're looking at, our algorithm looks at when determining the best photos to show to people. So how it basically works is we also offer this feature where every week we send a performance report to show you, here are your top 20 converting images. So whether that's for social posts or ad creative for static, you deserve to know you have all this great web traffic, you have all this data that's just sitting there. And just by plugging in Bloom and letting it run, we'll send you these reports on, here's your top performing photos, and then throw those into your social. We all know, like, you might sometimes post something and randomly does better than all your other photos on Instagram. Maybe this could be an indicator there. So that's another feature we offer as part of the 30-day free trial as well. And the second thing is understanding by shooting style. So if you do have a few different shooting styles right now on your store, we actually go in and we label all of your product photos, and then we look at conversion rate based off shooting style. Could even be a certain model, it could be a certain background, it could be like what we used here is a flat lay versus recognizable versus user-generated content. If you're doing a lot of influencer programs, you have all of this content coming in. Why not throw that on your merchandising strategy and see how it works? So we look at, we're always like obsessed about the conversion rate, what we call revenue per conversion rate, what we call revenue per impression. So ad metrics, putting that into product photos. When I show this photo, what's the likelihood of me generating this much revenue from it versus it just being the static thing that sits there? So how it works. So through the 30-day free trial, what we do is we take 50% of your traffic and we just don't touch it. We just track it. We look at clicks, add to carts, right down the funnel to purchases, and we say, what is your average benchmark for, let's say, new, whatever collection you enable it on? So bestsellers, new arrivals, anything like that. For the other 50% of traffic, we let Bloom do its magic, and that's when our algorithm just takes over that part of the that section of your traffic to do those experiments to figure out, how can I beat this control? So our system is built in that it's constantly looking at the control, and if your average purchase rate is 1.1% for the control, it's Bloom's mission to go and beat that just by showing different photos to different users. And it's astonishing the kind of impact it can have, within the first few weeks as it gathers data. And next thing you know, it's just like Derek said, it kind of feels like you're pulling something out from thin air. So it's really cool to see. And in terms of that, for tracking performance, we make it super simple. Your dashboard just shows throughout the 30-day free trial, 50% of traffic without Bloom. Here's your sessions, clicks, add to carts, and purchases. And then with Bloom, here's those same metrics. So you have the full picture in terms of how Bloom's operating. And what we do there is we also look at, okay, what are the incremental purchases? What are the incremental revenue? And which photos resulted in the purchases? Kind of all from there, the dashboard. And you can zoom in on any collection and on any product at any given point to look at the metrics for each one of those product photos. So I also know if you're in a category that has some technical images that you don't want to show, we have an opt-out feature. So if one of your photos is like too confusing and it's got too many products in it, it might be misleading. Of course, you can just opt that out with a few clicks as well. So you can still retain that control over what you want to test, but still let Bloom do its thing in terms of figuring out what works and what doesn't. And so another part we're working on, just before I wrap up, is the PDP optimization. So many of you might have mobile traffic that's actually greater than your web traffic. So we started tracking the number of swipes that users will take before making a purchase decision. So what we're building now is a product detail page optimizer. So we were tracking this on some of our stores, and between 50 to 70% of users on mobile are dropping off after like the second or third image. So what's the point of even having more than 3 photos if 70% of your shoppers are dropping off, right? So what we're doing now is we're building a system to tell you to actually display which photos are actually going to convert, which exact photos, which number of photos. So maybe you'd uploaded 20 and actually you only need like 5. We'll figure that out for you, and we'll also figure out which order. So what's the most helpful order of product photos that leads to a purchase decision? All of this being done on autopilot without with all you seeing is kind of that end result of, is this lifting my conversion, yes or no? And when mobile makes up more than 50% of your traffic, this is definitely something you want to look into. And that's why we're kind of moving into this as our next feature. So yeah, on desktop, the same thing. This speaks more to the order of the images, just to give you a visual there. Obviously, it's less prevalent on desktop because you can see everything as a thumbnail. On mobile, of course, you literally just see that one image, so it's super important. So we're also working on this initiative. If you are in the fashion space and the apparel space, we've initially, before building the Shopify app, we built a system that could generate AI realistic photo like models. So our vision was to say, wow, what if we could use AI to generate content and then build a system to A/B test to see what works? And so that was like our long-term vision. We decided to stick to existing content, and we figured that a lot of brands have all this stuff sitting around. We can get started with that, and a smaller percentage of people wanted to use AI-generated content. But this is another initiative that we have that with some of our partners we're rolling out as well. So just so you know, if you're struggling to get diversity in your catalog, if you're looking to do more custom stuff to your actual look of your brand, if you are in the fashion space, this is something we could talk about. And yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing too. It's pretty cool. And in terms of getting started, it's super simple. We run a 30-day free trial where you just plug it in, enable it on a collection, and then look at the dashboard results. Throughout that trial, we run all of the, we send those weekly reports on the performance data, your highest converting images by shooting style, all of that goes to your inbox. Throughout the time, you have you see reports live on the dashboard, and then we, around the end of the 30-day free trial, we have another call just to go over the results, figure out, in some cases, it might need more time to optimize, but that's the beauty of our business model in further detail, but we only charge when we bring incremental performance. So I might as well just segue into that now. So what we do is we charge $1 a month as a base flat fee, and then we take 10% of the incremental revenue generated with Bloom. So just to explain that, if you use this example here in this dashboard look, in this case, we brought them 71 new purchases, which equated to $4,200 in new revenue. And so we take $420 of that. And it's important to think of it in terms of purchase rates. Imagine you have thousands and thousands of visitors coming to your store. If your average purchase rate on this collection is 1.1%, and with Bloom it's 1.23%, then we're just going to take on that, point, whatever it is, 13% difference. That's where we're going to take the 10% charge. But obviously, happy to discuss this in further detail with anybody if you're curious in trying it out. And where we're really stoked right now is just to get people on and get them started to think about product photos, like ad creative, and how it can start working for you versus, in this gist of being an asset versus just an expense. So just to wrap things up, I'll show you quickly how to set it up if you are interested. Of course, we'd be happy to do a demo after the fact, but just pulling up a test store. Let's say I want to enable it on this collection. I would just go to the collection, click Optimize with Bloom, and then just like that, click enable, and I'm good to go. So it takes about 24 hours to sync just for the first one, and then we sync with your theme. We're compatible with all themes on Shopify, so no problems there. And then you can immediately go to your report, see that your collection is live there, and then data will start being collected the second you sync up and set it up with us. So that's all I got. Hope it wasn't too dry. And thanks again, Derek, for having me on, and look forward to meeting some of you after the fact. Feel free to reach out at sam@getbloom.ai. There's my contact details, and I had longer hair in that photo.
I'm literally drooling, so I don't think it was too dry. Certainly, not everyone's like a split testing nerd like me, but I think they've got to feel the value of what you just described. And then when you showed the AI models, that took me in so many different directions. Most specifically, it got me thinking that you could create a way in which the user uploads their own image and then you put them in the outfit. And I thought that would be, another next level thing for really personalizing those product photos. But the way you talked about figuring out which order they're in, figuring out how many images to show, these are all things like components of conversion rate optimization that what you would do if you didn't use Bloom is you would hire a conversion rate optimization specialist. I've got a close friend who is one, so his job is getting displaced here, which is totally fine. They would charge you $4,000 to $6,000 a month. This would be one of the tests they run, and it could take months to really figure out which product images should go first or second, and then how to do it. So that would be like $16,000 in their fees. And so in your, for you having it optimized with AI instantly and the results being right there in front of us, I'm thrilled. I love it. I think it's brilliant. There's so much more. Like I said, there's so many more things. I just, to be honest, I think you're going to get acquired by a personalization tool in 18 months for a ridiculous multiple. I'll just throw that out there.
Thanks,
OmniSend is literally coming on next. Maybe they'll be the acquirer, but it could be somebody else in the space as well. This is just one of those things that's so needed by merchants, and it's also a blind spot for them as well. They're just taking the same static shots. It's like, the white background shots. And I liked your example. When I talk to merchants, especially in fashion, I say the white background product shots are typically some of your least converting. Get a real person acting in a real action shot if you want to increase conversion. And then of course, years later, they might actually change that. So for you to be able to do it in maybe a few minutes or hours is actually incredible. All right, I'm going to stop drooling for now, I guess.
Well, thanks so much, Derek. Thanks for having us. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And you can check out Bloom at ecomtech.link/Bloom. That'll go right on over to their site. You can email Sam at Bloom.io. I forgot what it was.
Getbloom.ai.
Yeah, getbloom.ai, of course. Here it is, getbloom.ai. I should have memorized that first. You're going to be on my emerging trends app list, hot new picks app list. Yeah, I think this is, I'm very bullish on what you've got. I'll leave it at that. Thank you for building this. Awesome. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you later.